Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Hagan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Thanks to those of you who are now subscribed. After all, this is a first step to building a loyal base of followers. And as you know, when you subscribe, or what you should know, is that when you subscribe, you ensure you get every episode as we release them. And I also want to thank those who have referred others to the program. Before we get started, remember, we're looking to add quality people to our stable of franchisees. This is a unique franchise opportunity in that it's geared for aspiring entrepreneurs or professionals to add on to what they're already doing. All of our franchisees do something else, every single one of them, for a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week. Our franchisees operate the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity. The rest of their week, they're accountants, attorneys, financial advisors, realtors, coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs of various kinds. If you're interested or you know someone who might be interested, contact me using the email in the show notes or use the one we provide at the end of the podcast. Today we're going to talk about success, in particular networking success, but success in general. A lot of times when we think about success, when people think about success or they're aspiring to success, they'll look around at other successful people and they'll stop and they'll look for the one thing or the few things that really set somebody apart. You see somebody who's successful, you kind of look at them and say, aha, that's it. They dress impeccably. And so then you might dress impeccably. Or they might see, okay, wow, that person's really good with small talk. I need to be good with small talk. Or they might say, wow, that person is really well read. I need to do more reading. And while there's certainly truth to those things, or lots of things that you might see, that's not the total truth, if you really stop and think about it. Now, I'm going to kind of reflect on the organization that I run, AmSpirit Business Connections, and within the organization, we're certainly wanting our chapters, our members, to do the very, very best that they can. And so they're always aspiring to be great chapters. We call them outstanding chapters or outstanding members. They're always aspiring to these things. And in so doing, they're looking around and looking at chapters that in their minds have already achieved that. And they're looking for those things, those 1, 2, 3 things that they can hang their hat on to become outstanding, be great, or however you want to define it. And again, there's a lot of truth to that, but it's not the whole truth. Now, one of our franchisees, Tom Anderson, whom we interviewed for this program, for this podcast, and that aired back in January, so if you want to go back and listen to that. At any rate, Tom Anderson's a franchisee within AmSpirit Business Connections, and he also has a very successful web marketing business. Now, Tom has some very successful chapters. He's got a whole slew of very successful chapters, and I'll kind of get into the nuts and bolts of that. But he also has some newer and aspiring chapters that want to be more like these greater, outstanding chapters. And the newer ones, what he has done is he has sent the newer ones and the aspiring ones out to see these great chapters and go take a look and see what's going on and then come back. And what he was noticing is that people were coming back, and they were coming back with these 2 or 3 things that they kind of needed to fix to become outstanding, to turn themselves from a aspiring chapter, underperforming chapter, if you will, to an outstanding chapter. And they would implement these 2 or 3 things, and then they would sort of meet with frustration. And it wasn't that they weren't necessarily not implementing correctly these 2 or 3 things, but what Tom came to the conclusion is that it's not 2 or 3 things. It's not the 2 or 3 apparent things that you're going out and seeing. It's lots of little things that maybe go unnoticed that are happening. And so what Tom did was Tom actually put together I'll call it a white paper. He put together a document, and he calls it A Million Little Things. And I will quote from the top of the document. It says, there's a TV show on ABC titled A Million Little Things. Maybe you've seen it. It's about a group of friends living in Boston, Massachusetts, and how each of them has a life that affects them individually and as a group. The phrase is a description of what friendship is to them. It's not one big thing, it's a million little things. And so Tom's premise, as he goes on and talks about in this white paper for his chapters and works with his chapters on, is it's not the one or two things that separates you from being successful. It's a million little things. And so from there, what he does is he goes and he lists, it's not a million things, but it's a growing and growing list. In fact, he's opened that list up for other franchisees and members to contribute to, and he's done this because he's created a website that essentially has his original white paper listed there with all his original entries, and then he has a place where people can make comments or add to the list, and people submit their comments, submit their additions, and he goes through and cleans them up, and then we'll post them to the list. So this list keeps growing of these million little things which can contribute to the success of a chapter. Again, it's not one thing, it's not two things, it's not three things, it's lots and lots of little things. And just to let you know, the website, and I'll put this in the show notes as well, the website is http://got-referrals.com/a million little things. a-million-little-things /. Again, I'll put that in the show notes. You don't necessarily need to keep going back and forth to put that down. But it's a nice growing document. Certainly if you're a chapter within AmSpirit Business Connections to take advantage of, or if you have your own networking group or you're part of another organization, there's certainly lots of useful information there that you can capitalize on. But what I found interesting in looking at the list is that Tom has a whole section on what he calls characteristics, traits, and habits of outstanding members. And I thought that was very insightful because, as an organization, you can do certain things, and this is true of whatever team you're on, whatever clan or organization or whatever you're part of. The organization can do certain things, but then you as an individual can do certain things. And this whole program is about us all becoming more successful with respect to professional relationships and business networking. And so a lot of what happens, a lot of success with our networks starts with us. It starts with what we're doing. You could certainly look to the organization and hope the organization does the right things, but really at the end of the day, our success, your success, is driven by individual actions, behaviors, and habits. Now, I want to spend the balance of the time here today kind of talking about some of the things that he has on the list. And when I say some of the things, is that if you get a chance to go look at the list, between the time I'm recording this and the time you're actually reading this, a few weeks may have passed, maybe a few months. I don't exactly know how this will all time out. But people are making suggestions and continuing to add to that list. So there might be something that's a great thing that I don't touch, or there might be something that I say and it's not in the same order or it's said differently. So the website and what I'm saying now will change, but the basic premise is the same, is that your success networking, becoming a good networker, being good with respect to your relationships, personal and professional, really depends on the things that you do. So kind of going through Tom's list, one of the first things he has on the list, and hopefully it stays first on the list, is think of how to help others first. So that's why I hope it's first on the list, because it uses the term first. We will see what time holds. Tom's kind of in charge of this. But it's very true, is that, to be successful with respect to networking, and I talk about this time and again in this podcast series, to be successful, you've really got to be others focused. You've really got to try and help other people, and just trust that when you help other people, it'll come back to you. It's got to be part of your mindset. It's got to be part of your mentality, that you're always looking to help other people, not just when you need something, but you always need to be focused on trying to find ways to help other people. Make connections for them, refer them to opportunities, share important information with them. Even though the information may not seem important to you, it might be like gold in their hands. So that's the first thing. Think of helping others first. The second thing is develop great listening skills. And that really kind of ties into the first. You really have to be able to be a good listener to understand what people are looking for and how you can help them. A lot of times when we talk about this, when we talk about small talks, a lot of times people think of networking as they've got to come up with all sorts of great things to say. And really that's the furthest thing from the truth. To be a great networker, to be great with relationships, it really comes down to listening. People want to listen. When you give people your time and attention, you're learning about them, you're learning different ways that you can help them, but you're sending a subtle but powerful message that they're important. So that's another thing. It's not the main thing. It's not one of a few things. It's one of a million things that you can do, you need to do to be successful with respect to professional relationships. Another of the million little things is having a positive attitude. And we talk about this in other episodes, but people are attracted to individuals who are uplifting and they're optimistic. And having a positive attitude creates that. People might be sympathetic of the person who's always downtrodden, but they don't go out of their way to hang with that person. They might temporarily help that person, but if you're positive, people really, I don't even say rally around you, but they want to be part of your world. Whatever you've got, they want part of it. And so you know one of the million things you need to try and do to be successful, and again, you wouldn't necessarily see it on first blush in talking to somebody, but just consistently being positive and looking at the positive side of pretty much everything. Doesn't mean you can't have a bad day. It doesn't mean that you can't be down from time to time. But by and large, you need to have this uplifting spirit and be positive about things. Yeah, I lost some money, or this didn't work out, but you know what? I got other great things going on. Another little thing is doing what you say you're going to do. People who are successful in networking, whether it's in AmSpirit or in another organization or just in general, do what they say they're going to do. If they say they're going to send you an email, send you information, they do. If they say they're going to make a connection, they do. And if for some reason they falter on that, they're following up as quickly as possible to explain either what the delay is or what the failure altogether is. Being reliable. Again, one of the things we talk about we've talked about time and again in this program, is networking is about getting people to know us, getting to like us, and getting to trust us. So this is another one of the many, many, many little things, doing what you say you're going to do. And again, that's not going to be readily apparent when you go out and you see somebody who's a positive, who's a networker. You might see them being positive and you see them promising things, but you're not necessarily going to see them following up. Trust me, they're doing that. Another thing is that successful networkers get after opportunities that are presented to them. If they're introduced to somebody, say it's electronically or given somebody's name to contact, they take advantage of it. If there's information that they need to look into, they'll look into it. They capitalize on the opportunities that they get. By not doing so, if they don't capitalize on those opportunities, if they don't capitalize on those introductions and the connections, they send the message that I really don't need it. And so the successful networkers are all over those sorts of things. And again, there's a laundry list that could go on and on and on and on. But one of the other things you'll see with respect to successful networkers is they play the part. When I say they play the part, they are professional. Not ultra professional, ultra serious. They laugh, they joke, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. But they know where the limitations are. They're not telling off-color jokes. They're not doing things of that nature. They're just, they play the part. If you're a plumber, then it's okay to dress like a plumber. If you're an attorney, it's probably not okay to dress like a plumber. And nothing wrong with how a plumber dresses, but a plumber is dealing with all sorts of literally crap. and so is not wearing the best of clothes. But if you're an attorney and you're looking to project yourself as an attorney, then you want to kind of play that part and act as if you are the professional you purport to be. And again, that's not just one thing. Hey, I dress, I look great. It's got to be one of many, many things. So again, we can go on and on with this list, and as I speak, people are probably adding to it, and the list will continue to grow. And as I said, I'll include that in the show notes. But the point I want to make in this particular podcast with respect to
comments, or
your
ideas
networking
for future
success
topics
is that
it's
not one thing. It's not a few big things.
That's
it's a million little things. And maybe it's not a million.
Finally,
of course, that's an exaggeration to drive home the point.
Be sure to subscribe
but
to
it's
the
probably
Networking RX
dozens
podcast
and dozens
through
of
iTunes,
things,
Overcast,
things that I certainly
however
haven't
you
touched
receive your
upon,
podcast.
things that haven't made
Now
Tom's
get out
list
and
yet.
network with
But
someone.
lots and lots of these little
The
things
Networking
that all
RX
kind of
podcast
come
is a
together
copyright
to
production of
create
AmSpirit Business Connection. All
networking
rights
success.
reserved.